Hello, and welcome to another update video about Bitcoin on Saturday. Yeah, let's see if the weekend is going to be as exciting as last weekend. Normally historically, you could say, or in 2023 in general, most weekends were quite boring. But the last 3-4, well, they have started to become interesting. And the prices obviously are moving in the crypto market. Now, Saturday is still, I think, rather quiet. But the Sundays have been interesting in recent weeks. So let's see. I mean, certainly times are getting more and more interesting in the crypto world, especially with the recent price surges. Now, looking at Bitcoin, Bitcoin can still extend higher, as I said yesterday, but we're now at a point where all the targets are reached to the upside. Yeah, our minimum targets have been reached in this 5-wave move to the upside. So I'm happy how this developed. We have a solid 5-wave move. Yes, it can still move higher, and we're going to talk about that on the smaller time frame. But important for everybody to understand is that Bitcoin has reached minimum targets, which means that the risk for a deeper pullback in a wave 2 has increased. And you also need to understand that the bull market is solid as long as the price doesn't break below or doesn't break and sustain below $27,280. So that's the 78.6 retracement level of this rally to the upside, which started on the 11th of September. So that means as long as that level is actually holding, we don't need to panic about the bear market being back or things like that. That's just the normal standard Fibonacci retracement zone after a 5-wave move to the upside, after an impulse. It will probably mean that if the price gets there, people will call for the bear market to be back, people will call about a crash, people will panic, people will sell in fear, things like that, okay? So just have a plan and just understand that as long as we're holding that level, a third wave rally into the 60K region, maybe even a bit more, is a reasonable outlook, a reasonable prospect. So what we can measure is, maybe it's not 60K, we'll see. We'll measure now the length of that wave 1. We go to the wave 2, and it depends on how low we go. So for example, if the pullback only reaches the 38.2 Fib level, which is at 82,316, then the target for a third wave in an impulse is here, round about 64K. Yeah? So it is sort of that area around 60K, which should be coming next. So that is typically the rally that you want to be in a third wave. Now let's take a look at the shorter time frame. Here, not much has happened since yesterday's last video. You can still see the potential for a pullback in wave 2. That risk has definitely increased. Yeah? So the risk for this wave 2 pullback has certainly increased. However, there are currently still 2 wave counts how Bitcoin could still extend a little higher. So Bitcoin could still extend higher in the blue wave count, which would mean one more high seems reasonable, possibly here in an ending diagonal. So that means if I go to the 1-hour chart, that means that Bitcoin completed its wave 4 here on the 3rd of November. And then in the blue count, we had a 1, a 2, a 3, a 4, and a 5. So one more high seems probable in the blue count. However, I would not trust this count at all with a break below 35,880, which is the low that was made on Thursday, because then the blue wave 4 would be too low. So below that level, I would take the blue wave count off the chart, which means that there is still only one more wave count then left, really to put in another extension higher in wave 1. And that's the yellow count. Yeah, with the yellow count, it's very difficult because that C wave there of yellow wave 4 could go quite deep. So we just need to pay attention to the overall structure that is developing here. Typically what we say is, if we take a length of the wave A in white, go to the high of the B wave in yellow. Yeah, wave A in yellow, go to the high of the B wave. Typically what we say is that a C wave in such an expanded flat pattern should not exceed the 2.618 extension level. And that's basically at $35,100, which means that if we go below 35,100, it definitely adds weight to the idea that we are coming down in this wave 2, because then the wave C is too long to be, let's say, reasonable. So that's sort of the level I'm watching. I would also take the orange support area of the chart. It doesn't seem likely, or it doesn't seem useful anymore, given that we now have the deeper support area on the chart for the green wave 2 pullback. So that means at the moment we just need to see what the market does. A break below the Thursday low will make the blue wave count very unreliable. The yellow one will still be possible, but if we see a break below that low here, 35,850, 35,850, because it will make the blue count unreliable, we'll take it off the chart, and then there's really only white and yellow left. They're basically both part of the same scenario. Eventually we would expect a pullback, but it will certainly increase probabilities for a more direct pullback, given that one of the extension scenarios would be taken off. Okay, so situation should be rather clear. We have reached minimum expectations, fulfilled minimum expectations in this price rally. The risk has certainly increased for a pullback, but it hasn't started yet, or at least it's not very evident that it started yet. So we need to be watching the microstructure very closely in the coming days. At the moment, another extension is still possible. I'm actually leaning towards another extension in the short term, but yeah, I mean, general comment is that we've reached the targets and we're now watching if a pullback occurs. But in the short term, the trend still seems to be up, which is why, you know, I'm still leaning towards another extension. Also because this last rally here, was only in 3 waves. So typically what we like to see in a 5th wave is a 5-wave move. Again, sometimes on overheated days as we had them this week, it could be that we cannot clearly recognize these subwaves because they might be hidden within a candle. Okay, it's just sometimes when the market is so volatile, that is just sometimes what happens. So I'm still slightly leaning towards another high due to the structure, but we're very close to a target and actually reached the minimum target. So just be ready for it if there is a pullback, and don't be surprised if at some point there is a 20% pullback that could send us into the green box. But at the moment, it's just not very evident that it started. But I think the next few days will be very key and very important for us to determine if we're already heading down into the white wave 2. Okay, that's my update about Bitcoin. I hope you liked the update. If you did, please hit the like button, leave a comment and subscribe. And if you really like the content, then please check out the channel membership. Thanks a lot for watching. Bye-bye.